Breaking news now that we have more information on a raid that happened over in Abbeville County just yesterday. It led to multiple arrests, and Fox Carolina's Enrique Salinas joins us live from Columbia, where multiple agencies gave an update on this. Enrique.
And as you can see, we are here in Columbia. The press conference just finished not too long ago, and Attorney General Alan Wilson was in charge of that press conference inside here, and this is what we learned about that. And if we can take a look at the video that we shot yesterday, the Office of Attorney General Alan Wilson says that this was a multi-jurisdictional law enforcement operation that happened yesterday morning at Bernstein Manufacturing in Abbeville. Authorities say the operation resulted in 48 people being detained by officials, and 2 managers were arrested on state grand jury charges. Those managers are accused of facilitating the use of forged documents that were used by people here illegally, who were people here not legally to work at the business. 4 other defendants were also indicted and charges connected to the fraudulent identity of documents. Attorney General Alan Wilson made it clear that his office is focused on employers who, he says, intentionally ignore their responsibilities in an effort to get around the law. And he also emphasized that if you are doing something wrong here in the United States, they're going to come to you. And also he says that all of these people who were arrested, they're going to go through the legal process, and he will continue applying the law here in South Carolina. In Columbia, I'm Enrique Salinas, Fox Carolina News.
Enrique, thank you so much. The news conference comes as questions are still swirling this morning after a massive law enforcement operation at a business in Abbeville County. Just take a look at this very chaotic scene that unfolded. You can see dozens of officers there, along with people in handcuffs, and all of it happening Wednesday morning. We're still working to learn what agencies were involved, but we do know the Abbeville County Sheriff's Office is one of them. The operation was carried out across the county. That video that you just saw was taken at the Bernstein Von Seelen facility, not too far from Abbeville High School. There's also reports of officers and dozens of SUVs at the Upper Abbeville County Recreation Association, which is actually about 30 minutes from the other scene. Now, for context, the Bernstein facility makes manufacturing parts for other companies to use. More than 200 employees work there, and they ship all over the world. We have more information on this on our website at foxcarolina.com.